So far we've built a beautiful front end and with HTML and CSS, and then we've connected it to a Python backend. We filled out a form in the browser, and then the data appeared in the terminal. So we have officially built a full stack application loop. But before we take the final step of saving and displaying the data, oh no, we already done that, right? So we've already also put our project under version control. We've backed it up into the GitHub account. All right. Now back to our code. Our mission now is to save the transaction data to the CSV file and then display all past transactions on the home page. First, let's go ahead and create the functions to handle saving and loading, and then adapting our logic from the old file IO lesson. Let's import a couple of things like redirect, and then we're gonna import a URL for. So this we must actually, and then we're gonna import a CSV, and then here we will have a CSV file. Now the load function, this function will actually load transactions from the CSV file. So we're gonna use the try and accept block. So here we're gonna return an empty list if the file does not exist yet. And then we need the save transaction. So now the load transaction and the save transaction function will handle the CSV logic cleanly. Load transaction has the try and accept block to prevent crashing if the file isn't there yet. So this will saves a single. So this saves saves a single transaction to the CSV file. So here we're going to use a mode A to append the mode. So we actually use A for append. So we don't overwrite the file. So we just want to append. So if the file is empty, then we write the header first. So it means go to the end of the file. So if a file.tell we need to load all the transactions here. So we've got a method called index, and then we want to load all the transactions when the home page is visited. So we'll say transactions is load transactions, and then we so adding, we must just, instead of printing now, we must just scroll down a little bit. So instead of printing, we can just save the new transactions, because now we are able to so we can just call save transactions, and then with description, and then with amount. So you must just be careful about indenting And then here we don't have, we can return the redirect the user to go back to the home page. Return redirect, and then we use URL for index. Yeah. So we have our load transaction and save transaction functions which handles the CSV logic cleanly. Load transaction has a try and accept block to prevent crashing if the file hasn't been there, if the file is not there yet. And then in our add route, we now call the save transactions and then redirect URL for to index. This is a key in a web development pattern. After the user submits a form, we don't just show them a success message, we redirect them back to the home page. So this is URL for is just Flag's own way of generating the URL for our index function. So in our index route, we now call load transactions and pass the list of transactions on our template. All right, so let's go back to the index. Let's go back to the index. So what we need to create a table, or to have a table. I think maybe below the form that's going to display our data. So I'm going to have the HR and we can put an inline style, maybe imagine of 30 pixels and then 0 pixels, and then we can have H2 here, so all transactions, and then we can have a table, and then here we're gonna have TH, which is description, and then amount. Right. So this is to include Python code inside HTML. Alright, so we use a for loop here for transactions, transaction in transactions. Let's say if there is no transaction, then we need to pass a message. So for, we can just say if not transactions, then we're gonna have a paragraph. Let's just add a style of just align center. Then we can just say something, no transactions yet, add one above. All right, and then end if. So that's our HTML. So now in the index, our Python code now is sending the list of transactions to the index HTML. We needed to update the HTML to display them. So we actually used the for loop. We used the for loop somewhere here we use the for loop to actually display the index. So we added a horizontal rule, HR, and a new H2 heading. We created a table to hold our data, and then we used the for transaction in transaction. So this is a Jinja 2 for loop. So it works just like Python loop, iterating over the list that we actually pass from our app.py. And then transaction.description and transaction.amount that we have here. This is a conditional that checks if our list is empty, and then it displays the message if sorry, the double curly brackets are used to print the values of the variable. So this displays the description of the current transition loop. And then if not transition is a conditional check that checks if our list is empty and displays a message if it is. All right, so we can go ahead now and see if we good here or not. Okay, I'm getting file not found error, and it's just giving me an error here. You see here, I'm getting this error here, and it's supposed to actually create it. So what did we do here? Didn't we say it must actually create it? So let's go back here and let's stop our server from running, so that we can just fix that error here. So when we run the Flask app, the browser goes to the home page, and then this triggers the index method or index function. So it triggers which function? It triggers this function here. Okay, and then the first thing the index function does is to call the load transaction. All right, but the load transaction function tries to open transactions.csv in a read mode, but because we haven't added any transaction yet, the file doesn't exist. So Python correctly says I can't read the file that's that's not there, and it throws the file not found error, crashing the program. So the solution is to actually the try and accept safety net. So we need to tell our program how to handle this specific error gracefully. We need to say try to open the file, but you get a file not found error, don't crash, except in this case just assume that there's no transaction in return. So this is precisely what try and accept block is for. All right, so let's go ahead and see if we can do that. So on load transactions, let's go somewhere here. So we've got the file. We can just change this to file not found error. Hopefully that solves the problem. And then let's go ahead and rerun this, and let's see now if we're getting the error. Okay, now the error, let's see the error that we're getting. You can see now the error is actually the CSS problem. I think I'm missing a comma here. I think I was missing a comma there. See there? I was missing a comma, which actually caused that problem. I mean, if we look at the last lines of the error message, this tells us everything. That the file in template /index line 7, this tells us that the problem is not with the app .py file, but the Python code is perfect. So the error is with the HTML template. All right, so because we're missing a comma, so it was expecting a comma to separate arguments, but instead just got the word file name. It's just simply a syntax error, like forgetting a comma in English sentence. So the problem is just a missing punctuation. So we have to call a function in Python in Ginger we have to separate the different pieces of information, the arguments, with a comma there. All right, so let's go ahead and try and run it once more. Hopefully now we don't have any more errors. All right, so it doesn't seem like we have any errors. So now you can see where is this? you can see that now we have that table here, and then we separated our style sheet as well to be separate. And now it says no transactions yet, add a bar. So let's go ahead and add. So add fuel and minus 500, and go ahead and add that one. All right, so we also have an error on the edge. So here we call this CSV file, not I don't know what was I thinking. So remember in the beginning we actually said it's a CSV file, and then here I just write CSV. So it's just a typo on my end. All right. So basically Python was just telling us that you asked me to use a variable called CSV, but I've looked everywhere, I don't know what is it, so you never defined it. So it's because I made an error there. All right, so let's go. It's just a small but critical typo. So also on there's also a sneaky typo, I think, somewhere here. There's also a sneaky typo on save transaction. Load, wait, save. You see I'm missing what? A C. So there's another sneaky typo there. So save transaction, and then we'll have to go and fix it as well. Load, and then add transaction. There we go, save transaction. So we're missing a C here. All right, so it's just a sneaky, those sneaky errors or typos, so you need to be careful about. So it should be functional. Now let's try it once more. I think we fixed some of the typos. Let's go ahead and description fuel minus 500. Let's go ahead and add. Oh my wait, there's a couple of errors that we have. Let's see what now. Amount, field names. So that's line one, line what? Let me see. Yeah. Okay, let's run it once more. Description, fuel. Hopefully we do not have more errors. Let's say groceries. Okay, so clearly the load transaction is not doing anything, but let's see if this is adding. Yes, so it's actually adding. So now the problem is the load transactions. The problem is on transactions. Okay, here's a problem. Again, small detail transaction. So you see, so it's just a small problems. Load transaction, and then let's just check on our index if we typed it for transaction, lowercase, in transactions, transaction. See, I've got a lot of spell for transaction, in transactions, and transact. Okay, here I'm missing a C. Transaction, in transactions. All right. That should actually solve the issue. So now we just want to see if we can. All right, so there we go. So now everything is working perfectly. And then we just need to update this into our GitHub. So somewhere here on source control, we can just put a message. Or the easy way, we can just let's just go back here. Reveal in Explorer, and then web pages, and then we can just open with git bash here. I think it's on my other screen. Then we can just git add the changes and git commit. So here it's a feature that we've done. So it's a feature of save and display a transaction. Oh no, I made a mistake here. I forgot the M for. All right, and then we can git push. All right, so our file is now saved up into Git as well.